Welcome, it's Tricia Morris at Club Scrap. This is the Under the Sea Remix Page Kit Workshop. We are going to be taking this gorgeous collection and turning it into 8 lovely pages. And I've got my instructions printed and ready to go. Printing for you is optional. You can just follow along with me if you like. I'll walk you through step by step. I've got my entire kit here, my Fisker's Guillotine trimmer, which I love, and my Accordion Pocket File organizer. So this is gonna help us stay organized, keeping all the pieces in separate spots for the 8 layouts we're going to make, and that'll be in pairs. So if you don't have this, it's okay. I do recommend it, but if you don't have it, don't let it stop you from making the class. Simply maintain 4 separate piles, maybe label them 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, so that you can stay organized. The disadvantage is that it just requires a lot more horizontal space, and we always seem to have plenty of vertical space. So I'll tuck this underneath my trimmer base here, and then I'm going to set aside all of the embellishments that came in the kit. You may want to just keep them in the bag your kit came in, and let's isolate those papers and sort them into the order we'll be using them. So I like to hold the papers upright like this so I can access them easily rather than having them on my work surface. It's a little bit harder that way. So let's go ahead and find one sheet of this octopus print. That's this guy. He'll be in the lower right corner. So cute. Take one of those. I'm going to put it face down on my trimmer base. Next up, I want you to find one of the whale prints. That's this guy. He's probably my favorite artwork in the whole collection. Face down. Then there should be one single sheet of white in your kit, and it has a lovely linen texture. So I'll put that texture side facing down. Then I'll move to one sheet of the dark blue. So in order to know what's dark, you may need to take a little tour of the other blues in your kit. So just for review, this is the dark one, this is light, and this is medium. Dark, light, medium, okay? So speaking of light, let's take 2 light blue plain papers, put those on your stack. And then 1 green is next, 1 medium blue. So that's this guy. He's pretty bright. I love this. Oh, it's just such gorgeous paper. Some of my favorites. Usually on the back of the stack, you're gonna find some Cutaparts. So the first one I want you to find has the gorgeous jellyfish on it. Put that face down. And then the one with the big whale, that'll go next. Now I want you to find the other 2 medium blue plain papers. So grab those, 1, 2. They're really heavy, so it feels like you have more than 2. And then we'll find a whale print again. So that's this guy. Put him face down. A light blue, and now that we have fewer papers, this is getting easier. 2 of the green, 1, 2. 1 octopus, put him face down, and then the dark blue, the last sheet that you should have. Take the entire stack and flip it back over so Mr. Octopus is right on top, and set it. I usually set the papers that aren't trimmed to the left of my trimmer, and if you have a printed copy of your instructions, I usually put that to my right. Okay, so now I'm situated. We're ready to trim. Let's take the octopus print. We'll put it right side up into your trimmer. And our first cut here is going to be at 6 3/4. So if you're brand new to the trimmer, just remember it has a little notch here in the lower right corner that you need to pull outward to unlock the blade, bring it all the way up. And always make sure that the paper is flush here at the top of this ridge and that the blade is all the way up. If it's not all the way up, you won't be able to move the paper freely. Okay, so to find 6 3/4, I'm going to find 6 and go left 3 of these columns to grow that number to 6 3/4. And before I slice, just take the left hand and push down on this clear bar. And then we'll slide all the way down to 3 inches. Again, stabilizing here before I make that slice. It keeps the paper from moving around in the trimmer. Okay, so this piece here can go into pocket 3 and 4, and when you place it in there, know that it's 12 inches wide, and so is the Accordion Pocket File. So I like to put it in at an angle so that I can still see the number on the left side of the pocket, and it just sticks out on the right, like that. Now this next strip, we're gonna trim horizontally at 11 1/4. So that's 11 plus 1 column to the left. Stabilize even for these narrower pieces. And then 7 1/2. And 3 3/4. Now, if I'm going too fast for you, and that's understandable, I know I clip along pretty quick here, you can go into your YouTube settings and click on the gear symbol and to find that, and then you'll find playback speed. You can reduce the speed to something a little more comfortable for you. Okay, it'll really slow me down at like 0.75, for example. Okay, you can speed me up too if I'm just going too slow. And take these 3 squares that you made and place them in pocket 3 and 4. There is a little piece that fell from the end that's a scrap. And then this other larger piece also goes in pocket 3 and 4, and place that in at that angle again. Moving on now to the whale print, that should be next in your stack. And that's a nice advantage of having this sorted out ahead of time. We can just clip along with our trimming. I want you to place this in your trimmer so that the whale is in the upper left corner, and we'll cut at 9 inches. Now, this is a little out of the order of the instructions, but do you see this this line? It sort of looks like a shoreline coming through here. What I want to do is just tear along that line. So I'm going to just go in, and I'm pulling this end toward me, and see how it creates that gorgeous layering there. It exposes that. I'm going to have you do one additional thing that is not in the instructions, but do you see how the white is exposed here, but it's not exposed here? So one option that you have is to go and tear again so that you do have an exposed white area on this edge too, because I do like that look. And so it's totally up to you. I mean, you could just leave it as it was if you want, but I do like the look. It's funny, sometimes in a class, students don't want to tear the paper because it's too pretty. But I think it gives us a nice element of interest for our pages. So both of these torn pieces, those go in pocket 7 and 8. And then I'm going to do some various things with this strip here. It doesn't really matter how you trim it, as long as it's horizontal. So the first number here is 9 3/4, stabilize, then 7 1/2, 5 1/4, and 3. Okay, so this square, I want you to flip it over to the white side, and then pick up the very next piece that landed and put that on its white side also. Both of these go in 7 and 8. The next piece, flip it to the plain side and place that in 5 and 6. And then the last 2 pieces stay right side up, and those go in 3 and 4. Phew. Okay, now we're gonna do something fun and easy, okay? I'm gonna have you grab that white sheet, just the one, because there is only one, and trim it at 6 inches, so right down the middle. Stabilize. Now grab both of the pieces you made that are the same, and you're gonna trim them horizontally at the same time at 8 and 4. So you just efficiently made 6 4x6 mats. 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. 3 of them, they go in pocket 1 and 2. And the other 3, 7 and 8. Again, pocket or pile, whichever you're using. Now we'll move on to this dark blue. And the dark blue, I'm gonna make a couple of really skinny pieces. I call those paper ribbons, and they look really nice on pages. So let's cut at a really large number, 11 3/4, and that's gonna make a really narrow piece to fall off the end. And you'll notice that I'm letting the pieces pile up in the order they land. It makes for easy organization, because then I know where your pieces are. And then we'll go to 11 1/2 to make another one of those little ribbons. And then slide down to 5 3/4. Rotate this piece and trim horizontally at 8 and 4. And gather up these pieces that are the same and place them in pocket 5 and 6. Then pick up the next larger piece, and we'll trim this a little differently. 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Gather up the 3 pieces that you made that are the same, and those are going to go in pocket 5 and 6. And a small piece fell from the end, that's a scrap. And then you got these 2 paper ribbons. Those also go in pocket 5 and 6. And I'm moving on to page 2 of my instructions and grabbing just 1 sheet of the light blue. Make sure you have 1 here and 1 to your left, okay? We only want to trim 1. At these measurements, we'll cut at 9 1/4 and 4. Rotate and trim the 4x12 at 6 inches. And we'll pocket these in 3 and 4. All right, this next one, this is 5 1/4 by 12 right now. We'll cut at 11 1/4, 8, and 4. You made 2 pieces that are the same. Those go in 3 and 4. Then you have this other rectangle. It's a little narrower. We're gonna cut it at 5 and 2 1/2. And you made 2 rectangles that are the same size for pocket 3 and 4. And you made a couple of little scraps here. This little guy and one a little larger. Sorry about all those scraps. I know it's a lot. All right, one more strip here. This one we're gonna cut at 9, 6, and 3. All 4 of these rectangles go in pockets 7 and 8. And we're moving on to the next sheet of light blue. This one we trim at 10 1/2 and 6 1/4. Rotate the 6 1/4 inch piece so it's horizontal and cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. You have 2 mats the same size for pocket 1 and 2. And there's a rectangle from the end. Let's trim that at 6 and 3. Grab those 2 rectangles that are the same for pocket 1 and 2. And there is this tiny little piece that fell off the end. You can set that aside. Now pick up the next widest strip that remains and trim it at 6 1/4. Both of these pieces, even though they're uneven, okay, those are both gonna go in 1 and 2. And you'll have a long strip for 1 and 2 as well. And that's, again, filed at an angle. Now we're moving on to one sheet of the green, and we'll cut this at 10 1/2 and 6 1/4. Rotate the 6 1/4. We'll cut at 11 1/2, 8 1/2, and 4 1/4. These 2 rectangles go in pockets 7 and 8. And you have this narrow piece. We're gonna do something a little different with this than usual, if you know the usual. We'll cut at 5 1/4 and 3 3/4. The largest piece and the medium-sized piece you created both go in pocket 7 and 8. But then there's this really tiny one that's a scrap. And so is this other little guy. All right, now we have this wider piece. Trimming that at 6 1/4. And gather up these 2 pieces, once again uneven, but both going in 7 and 8. And you have the long strip also going in 7 and 8. Here we are at the medium blue. We're gonna cut quite a few strips out of this. We'll start at 11 1/2, then 10 1/2, 9 1/2, 8, and 4 3/4. Rotate this piece in the trimmer base. Trim at 11 3/4, 9, 5 3/4. A lot of weird cuts in this one. And 2 3/4. Now leave this 2 3/4 inch piece in the trimmer base right now, but rotate it so it's horizontal and cut at 4 and 2. All right, this rectangle, one of them, 5 and 6, and the other, 7 and 8. And once again, a little scrap fell from the end. The next piece in the stack, 3 and 4. And you have a next piece, 1 and 2. The skinnier piece, 3 and 4. And there is another scrap. Oh, I'm sorry about all these scraps. Okay, now we have this wider piece, widest that remains. This is 3 1/4 inches wide right now. And our cuts here are going to be 10 3/4. 8 1/2, 4 3/4. Okay, this larger piece, 3 4. The next one on the stack, 5 6. The skinnier one, 3 4 again. And you have a scrap. All right. If you're new here, the reason I'm giggling is I normally don't have this many scraps. I mean, I know it's probably not much when you consider we're starting out with 16 sheets of paper, and we're gonna make eight layouts. These are your scraps, but it's more than I usually have. I don't know, I just couldn't make it work this time. 3 and 4 on this wider strip here. And then you have a 1-inch strip for pocket 5 and 6. The next 1-inch strip, 3 and 4. And then you have the skinny in 3 and 4. We've arrived at our Cutaparts, so by name you can tell they have to be cut apart. But before we do that, we need to remove the outside perimeter. There's a little message to you on each outside corner, and there's these little guides. Do you see that little plus sign there? That's your alignment guide for removing that paper. And it may not be exact on all 4 sides, so I just like to, on my first trim, because my trimmer is a little bit too small to see really well both at the top and bottom edge of the blade, I'm just going to trim this with a generous cut. And there's still a little bit more paper left after the tip of that mark. I hope you can see that. Now I'll rotate the paper 1 turn, and this time I can see a lot better to line up the mark both at the top and bottom of my trimmer. And then I'm going to rotate 1 more time, or not 1 more, but again, line up those marks. Rotate again. This time I can probably look at my 12 and confirm that I'm nicely aligned on the right here. And then I can look at my 12 again here. Takes off a hair, and I just have a little bit of cleanup to do on this side. Okay, so I can get rid of all these shavings, put those in the garbage. And I'm going to position my Cutapart in the trimmer so that the jellyfish border strip is on the right. That's the narrowest strip. That should be taken off the end first. So our first cut here is at 10 3/4. And then 9 1/2, 7 1/2, and 4 1/2. A lot of halvesies there. Now rotate. So the words "We Dream in Colors" are on your right. And our first cut here is going to be at 9. And then 6 1/2. Now, if you want, you can clip the corners off our homemade tag here. So 1 minute it's a rectangular sheet of paper, and the next minute it's a tag. And I like to close an eye and line it up so that the margin from this artwork to the edge matches the margin from that artwork to the edge. And this is really flexible here with the way this is drawn. So put this in pocket 7 and 8. And then we have these other pieces. Smell the sea, feel the sky. That goes in 3 and 4, along with this other tag, which I'm just going to go ahead and finish this one too. This one goes in pocket 3 and 4. The sea, this large strip here, needs to be trimmed. So I'm going to cut it at 9, making sure that this image is on my left. And this large piece goes in pocket 1 and 2. If you happen to have a 1-inch circle punch, it's going to come in super handy. Otherwise, you can trim these images with scissors. So I'm going to take out the starfish, the shell, and the other shell. Okay. That leaves me with this cute turtle. And let me show you how I trim these turtles. This doesn't have a silhouette line, but what I recommend you do is just add about 1/16 of an inch of a shadow or a glow around the turtle as you're trimming it, so that you don't have to do all that little detail. You can tell that I'm kind of just not a real patient person with these types of details. So if you prefer, you can. But I like this look too. I like the little halo look. Isn't that sweet? I love him. I love him. He's just adorable. Okay, so let's get these pieces filed away. The turtle goes in pockets 7 and 8. And the starfish looks like 1 and 2. The roundish shell, 5 and 6. And then the other shell. I don't know my shell names. You probably do. You're like, Tricia, that's a, and you know exactly what it is. That goes in 7 and 8. All right, now we have arrived at this strip here of journaling prompts. Let's make sure the one with the shells, 1, 2, 3 shells all right side up here. 9, 6, and 3. All right, so you're a star. That goes in 1 and 2 along with the next journaling prompt, and the lines are, it's a vertical prompt. And then we have this other vertical prompt going in 5 and 6, and then the ones with the shell and the bubble, that goes in 3 and 4. Okay, and then we have this border strip here. Let's get salty, 3 and 4. And finally, the jellyfish strip, 7 and 8. We've arrived at our very last sheet of that needs to be trimmed, our Cutaparts, and we have to give it the same treatment here by removing the paper from the outside edge. So I just do a kind of a lazy cut on my first one, and then really do my best to line up the blade to remove the hash mark. I'm gonna go to 12 inches on this rotation and 12 inches on this rotation. Get rid of all those little scrappies. And if I'm going way too fast with that, which I probably am, especially if you're new, just pause me until you're done with that little task. Then position this in your trimmer so that this narrow strip again is on your right, the wide whale on the left, with our first cut at 10 3/4. Then 10, 9 1/4. And I always just check to make sure my blade won't go through art. Then maybe I got a wrong measurement there. 6 1/2 and 3 1/2. A whale of a good time, 5 and 6. All right, then we have this one. Put it in so all the little Cutaparts are on your right, and we'll cut at 8 and 4 1/2. 1 and 2 on this guy. Live in the sunshine, that's 5 and 6. And we have some assorted items here. So I'm just gonna do a rough cut to separate these elements rather than, I will do that same silhouette thing that I showed you before, but I'll just separate the images for now to save ourselves a little time, and then you can do what you wish with these guys. All right, so I've got these assigned. The big starfish, that goes in 5 and 6. This shell, 7 and 8. This, I'm just gonna call it a stone, 7 and 8. And the 2 bubbles, 1 and 2 on those. Okay. Oh my gosh, we're so close. Hang in there, my friends. So the smaller box here that says come out of your shell on the right, and that'll be trimmed at 9 1/4, 8, and 4 1/2. The ocean has my heart. That's 3 and 4. Sea turtleology, go with the flow, move at your own pace, and come out of your shell. All 3 of these, 7 and 8. It's kind of like a little set. Now we have 2 strips that are the same-ish, put 1 in 3 and 4, and the other in 5 and 6. And then we have this guy. We've got no troubles. Life is bubbles under the sea. That's 1 and 2, and congratulations, that marks the end of the trimming phase. So before I pull my trimmer away from this organizer, just make sure you're supporting it, because we don't want it falling on the floor, right? That would not be cool. And lay it on its back. And I have this stack now of remaining papers, and these are the bases for all of our pages. And we're gonna dry fit these pieces we trimmed onto the appropriate page, starting with layout 8 and working our way over to layout 1, so that layout 1 will be on top. You'll be ready to adhere everything and then add your photos. It's kind of a cool system. It really works. We've been doing it for years. So I'm taking the entire stack that I have left and placing it to the left of the center of my workspace and sliding the top sheet over. And that's going to create the base for layouts 7 and 8. So in your instructions, I turn to page 4, or scroll to page 4, all the way to the bottom where you see layouts 7 and 8 written. And then you'll see the medium blue is the base for both of these pages. So now you know you have yourself set up with the right papers for the right layout. All you need to do now is grab everything out of the pocket labeled 7 and 8. All right. And typically, you know, if you have the dexterity and hand strength, I like to deal, there's quite a few pieces here, sorry about that. I like to deal out my layouts from my left hand. That's my non-dominant hand, so you can adjust accordingly. And that way I'm not picking up everything off the table one at a time. It's a little less efficient that way. And in case you can't tell, I like efficiency. Okay, then on the right side here, I'm gonna grab this this green strip here and place it about 1/8 of an inch from the right edge of the layout. And on top of that, it's gonna go this jellyfish border. And right next to that will go the torn strip. Lovely. Okay, now I have some larger green photomats in here. 2 of them are gonna go horizontally right here. And the other larger one will go horizontally here with the shorty vertically here. And then you've got this gigantic tag. Let's get rid of that guy. And now you have 3 white photomats, and those should fit right into the larger green. So if something's not fitting, you might have the wrong one here, okay? We're getting down there already, not too bad. So there's a larger green mat, and it's gonna go here and house the sea turtleology. Then you should have a square that is plain. Now it's printed on one side, plain on the other. You can see why I had to use the plain side. I needed the contrast, so I just went for it. And that gets come out of your shell. Be well traveled, age gracefully. And finally, you have the skinny one that's green that houses move at your own pace. Mr. Turtle is added right about here. And from your goodies, if you want, you can grab one of these cute shells. That kind of, the end of it sort of fits underneath this to finish that off. And then you have these cute little settings. To use them, I like to take my bookbinding glue and just drizzle a little glue from my needle tip applicator into the setting. And then just make sure that, depending on how you want to position it, that it's rotated correctly with the loops, the hanging loops, okay? Now notice how this is a little bit big, and that's okay. Once I push it down in there, it sort of snaps into place. If you want, you can use a bone folder to kind of get it down in there and sticking properly. And once you have it in place, grab the corresponding epoxy sticker that came with your kit and then just plop it in there. And that looks fabulous. And that's gonna go right here. I have a little roll of this white wax cord. We can get this at Club Scrap. And I just added one to each side of the hanging loop. Another option is to use a wire cutter to remove the side loop completely if you don't want to mess with it. And then I attached it with either ATG or your bookbinding glue. Okay, that was a little diversion there. Put that back. We have a few more things to add to our layout. We've got 2, let's see, rectangular shapes. Those should fit right in here with that light blue. Then the other piece that's on the plain side showing, that should nest with this, and I tucked it in after stapling it with some ribbon. Just tucked it right up there. So it could be used as a little title or a caption or another smaller photo. And then you have 2 more of these rectangles that go here. And I'm so sorry I covered the turtle. I couldn't help it. We needed spots for pictures, okay? Then I have this shell and this rock. I want to ask Jack what it is. It's kind of cute, but I don't know what it is. And we're going to put, maybe it's an urchin. We're going to go with urchin. I placed those here after trimming them out, added them with foam adhesive. So let me show you the finished pages, okay, of that. We've got, there's that cute little, that's so sweet, the little cabochon. And then the shell here, this with foam adhesive, so nice. That torn edge is looking beautiful. And then over here, we've got our stapled ribbon. I used my slot punch. I'll show you. Here's the tag, the Don't Be Jelly tag, and I slotted it with my slot punch. I love my slot punch because it just looks so cool, and it's just an instant tag maker, right? And then over here on the top, I just stapled a piece of ribbon I folded in half. That's the metallic silver ombre included in your kit. Okay, that is layout 7 and 8. Now I'm not going to glue these down with you. That's something you can do on your own to just save, save footage time, okay, and editing time, because I have layouts to make. All right, now I'm sliding page 7 onto 8, And then I'm going to slide the next one over, and that's my big setup for, you guessed it, layouts 5 and 6. And then I need to empty the pocket labeled 5 and 6. This is a nice easy one. And let's start out with this gigantic strip here across the top, and then I'm going to add a one of those paper ribbons that we trimmed earlier. And when you're adhering this, I typically adhere the title strip first, and then I take my needle tip glue applicator and run the nozzle of the applicator along the edge of my base page here. Not on the strip, but on the base page. And then I bring the strip to the adhesive. Works really, really slick. And then across the bottom, I'm gonna add this other medium blue strip that's pretty narrow, and it has a companion. And then from the dark blue, there's gonna be a set that will be smaller or narrower. Those are gonna go across the page here. Meanwhile, you're gonna have another set of dark blue that are a little larger. Those are gonna go here. And you should have a medium blue small that nests onto the other printed piece, but we're using the plain side up, so I had you flip that over before we added it. And I just tucked that in there a little bit. And then you've got another larger medium blue that can nest with this cut apart Live in the Sunshine. And there should be a die cut shell that you can sneak behind here. A journaling prompt that I tucked behind this. And you've got your leftover, and you can do your silhouette cut, you know, when you have more time. The starfish fits really nicely in there once you have it trimmed out a little bit. Of course, you have your little shell circle that can be placed in the cabochon, and with the epoxy sticker, we'll go there. How about a cute little seahorse for the lower right corner here? And then also the sparkly starfish gem is added to the journaling prompt there. And so the finished page here, very basically assembled. No other things to note other than this was adhered with our bookbinding glue. Works great for those types of objects. The facing page number 5, I added the looped ribbon going across, and it's just basically 2 loops that hook like this and then are taped at the back. It's just a beautiful way to use this organza ribbon. And then the cord added to the hanging loops on the cabochon setting. Okay, let's pick this up and slide it on over. And we've got a green base greeting us for layouts 3 and 4. Now we can go ahead and empty the pocket labeled 3 and 4, see what we have in store for ourselves here. Lots in there. This is like a big puzzle. And I've always said and thought that doing this is sort of like fixing a jigsaw puzzle, but in the end, you don't have to tear it all apart and put it in a box. You have a scrapbook page. And it was so great because one of our members just posted the same thing to our private Facebook chat group. By the way, if you're not a member of our private Facebook chat group, you should be, so you can share ideas and your successes with your friends there. Now, the octopus of the print goes down over here on the left side, and then we're going to put the other longer, larger strip on the right. Next to the octopus, we're going to add the medium-sized medium blue along with, let's see, a strip. So it should be the one that nests with this. So if it's not, just pick a different size. And then we have the 2 smaller light blue, should fit above and below. A lot going on with this page, but you'll get it. Then we have this skinny one right against the edge here. And then our larger light blue are going to be vertical and should puzzle in there beautifully. Then the widest medium blue border gets, let's get salty. Now above it, there's going to be 3 pieces the same size with that print. 1, 2, 3. And if you want, you can arrange it so it flows to how it was trimmed. I don't know how, like that. 1, 2, 3. And let's see. There is a lot of mitchy-matchy going on here. So there's going to be some smaller light blue rectangles. I think they're light blue, yeah. And those are going to get matted with this, and then you can put a photo on top of them if you wish. There should be a mat that fits this tag. It's the largest of the medium blue that remains. That's gonna go here. You'll clip the corners of the medium blue as well. I mean, everyone should kind of have a mate here. So what about this seahorse one? The ocean has my heart. That's gonna go furthest up to the top. Then this one's gonna fit in there horizontally. It's kind of gonna overlap here. And then you have your journaling prompt in this little grouping on the left side. I did some fun stuff with ribbon. Again, all of that is optional. So, I mean, just follow your own muse here. The ribbon tricks for the right side of the layout after everything's kind of adhered, except for this, you want to take like a hole punch and just punch to the left of the text and to the right of it. And I feel that doing this and adding this narrow satin ribbon draws the eye to the title beautifully. And I just threaded it underneath the hole, through the hole, and then back out again because it's such a small area here. This one, I slot punched it, and then I just stapled a piece of folded ribbon to the opening. Then I made a separate single unit bow, and then I attached the bow separately. So it's 2 pieces here, not just one piece cleverly attached. Oh, and finally I added another one of those adorable little starfish gems kind of over here by Mr. Octopus. On the facing page, I ran 1 piece of ribbon all the way across the strip here. Since I had a lot of it, I had 2 full yards. I adhered this, again with bookbinding glue, and made a double looped bow here with more of the satin ribbon there to finish that one off. Okay, moving on now. I'm gonna slide this over and slide this on over. All right, we'll take everything out of pocket 1 and 2. Let's start out with this great big title over here on the upper left. That's what I love about my Cutaparts, is it finishes my titles for me. Titles, when I don't have Cutaparts, take a lot more effort, and I don't always want to do that. Save some room for that beautiful ribbon to run its way across here. And then I'm going to add my larger light blue mats horizontally here and here, and nest them with some white. And then we're gonna tuck one of these shells here. Then we're gonna put the larger light blue that has a nesting partner vertically here, and then the shorter one horizontally, followed by 2 rectangles. And then you should have a medium blue to nest with your larger sentiment here. You've got you're a star in that spot, and then just tuck this journaling prompt right over the photo here, or under, whatever you prefer. And we're gonna add our final cabochon here with the circle art. That's probably still in my pocket. It's somewhere. Yep. Oh yeah, I got all kinds of stuff in here. All right, don't leave things behind in your pocket. There's the little starfish. I added the turtle charm. That's gonna go here. Okay, here is our cute little starfish, again with that same wax cord, and I wrapped it around to the back. I added the turtle with a foam adhesive. And then the facing page here, I finished that off with a 3-part bow, and then a generous portion of that ombre ribbon stretching across the bottom to add a lot. And you can see my little bubbles with the foam adhesive, adding a little pop to that, and finish it off here with the final starfish, which I forgot to add. There you go. That's layouts 1 and 2. That brings us to the end of our time together. At this point, you can begin now with your favorite adhesive, adhering all of these elements, then going back and adding your favorite photos from someplace you've maybe been by the sea. I hope you like this workshop, and if you have a second, make sure to leave me a comment and ensure that you're subscribed. So hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you in another Club Scrap workshop again soon. Thanks for joining me.